those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have time on our agenda for visitors. Is there any visitor who'd like to address the council on any agenda item? Hearing none, we also have time for general visitor comments. Is there a visitor who'd like to address the council on another matter? Hearing none, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins with the memo on page 8 of the packet and concludes with a resolution that appears on page 33. The consent agenda includes the following tree license approvals for Mankato Land Shakes, July 15th through April 30th. The following employee appointments, Caitlin Kruger, Finley Olson, Michaela Hahn, and Eddie Kieser. The positions and wages are listed in the packet. We have one board appointment, that's Jasmine Flores to the EDA with a term date ending December 31st, 2028, as well as a schedule of disbursements for June 18th, 2025 through July 9th, 2025. Are there any questions or is there any discussion of any item on the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion and second, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Miss.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisman.
Aye.
Councilmember Schuster.
Aye.
Mayor Melvin.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson. Aye.
Resolution is approved. We have no items of unfinished business tonight. Our first item of new business is a donation acceptance for the Gorman Park Library Garden.
Mr. John is here.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. I am excited to come before you today to share the news that we have received a very generous donation from the Carl and Verna Schmidt Foundation for the Gorman Park Improvement Project Phase 1, specifically for the library garden for $25,000. They have been a wonderful partner of the library and of the city for many, many years, and so this contribution continues to show their support of what we do and this amazing project that we are now starting. And so I would like to not only have this donation accepted this evening, but also recognize this long-term relationship and support that the Schmidt Foundation has given not only the library but to the city, and extend our thanks on behalf of the city.
John, any questions or discussion? I'll chime in as somebody who I currently represent the city council on our library board, and previously, before I was served on the city council, I was also on the library board for 2 terms, and wow, the generosity of the Carl and Verna Schmidt Foundation really makes a difference in our community for everybody who uses the library, and so just can't thank them enough for once again coming through and supporting the library. With that said, is there a motion to approve the resolution on page 35 accepting the Carl and Verna Schmidt Foundation donation? Next up, Community Center Transfer System solicitation bids.
Again, Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you. I am here tonight to continue the conversation we've had a few times regarding the upgrades to the community center electrical infrastructure and transfer switch system. After many of our discussions, and Eric and I continue to work with IFG when it's done the previous report on the building, we believe we are ready to go out for bids or to solicit bids and see where the project comes in. As a reminder, this is in the 2025 budget under equipment business district, so we have funds available for that. In our last meeting with ISG, Eric and I sat down and talked to them and figured out the best way to proceed with this, and rather than having ISG solicit the bid for us and on our behalf, they said they would act, it would be better to be act on more of an advisory role, which they could charge us just simply for the time and materials. And so we are seeking approval to move forward with the solicitation of this bid process.
Any questions? solicitation of bids for the community center electrical infrastructure and transfer switch system upgrade.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharpstrom,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, 2025 fee
you.
schedule modification. Thank you, John. Regarding cannabis, and we have Stephen Winkler here to tell us about that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I did draft a memorandum on this issue beginning on page 39 of the packet. You'll likely recall that last year the City Council passed an ordinance regarding the local regulation of cannabis now that it is legal. Following the passage of the local ordinance, there was an addition to the 2025 fee schedule that regulates the registration fees that the city can charge to retailers. For some additional background, the Office of Cannabis Management is responsible for licensure of various cannabis businesses in the state. I think there's 13 different kinds of licensures that you can get. As the city here, we're only concerned with 5 of those that are listed on page 40. Basically, the 5 types of retailer that you can, or retail business that you can engage in. So when the 2025 fee schedule was set, it was set for 2 different kinds of fees: initial registration fees, which can be charged at a maximum amount of $500 per statute, or renewal fees, which can be charged at $1,000 by statute. And those 2 amounts work in what I am guessing will be the overwhelming majority of retail licensures that the city will encounter. However, there is a single exception for lower potency hemp edible retailers. So if a business obtains that kind of license from the state and comes to the city to register its business here locally, the way the registration fees are calculated, the maximum amount that the city could charge in an initial registration fee is $250, and the maximum renewal amount is $125. So as it is currently written in the fee schedule, the amounts do not cover all potential licensures or encounters that the city might have with potential retailers. So for that reason, I propose the following modification, also on page 40 of the packet, that basically delineates the 5 kinds of retail businesses for which the city could require registration and fees, and those amounts that the city can charge for initial registration and renewals. So if that is enough of an explainer, we would be asking that the fee schedule get or be modified to reflect that change, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions, or at least attempt to, that you might have on the subject.
Thank you. Are there any questions or is there discussion? Dustin?
So first and foremost, I've been very clear on this since the cannabis became legalized, that I wanted to make sure that we put no unjust burdens on these businesses or additional restrictions other than what the state is providing. We're electing to go at the highest dollar bill allowed. How did we come to that?
Well, what I would say, based on, and I haven't reviewed all the legislative history on the passage of the cannabis bill, but the way it is structured, particularly if you look at cannabis micro businesses, which is on page 40, that top one, the design of the fee schedule on how it's written in the statute strongly indicates that is basically that's the amount that it appears that the Senate or the state would propose that local cities or other local entities are able to charge, in that it sets up a license fee that is very minimal, and then an annual renewal fee that's twice as much, that basically pegs how much local business or local organizations or cities could charge in this amount. So it just an overall review of the statutory scheme strongly suggests that that's what the state anticipated local entities would charge in those fees. And then also considering that the various types of retailers, the licensure fee can go all the way up to $70,000. That $1,000 renewal fee, for instance, is very small compared to what the state is charging in almost all circumstances regarding the licensure fee, and particularly the renewal fees. Those renewal fees get very large after a retailer has been in business for 2 years. So looking at that also, what the city is able to pull from that is very small compared to what these retailers are already paying in license fees. Again, that does not mean that the city has to charge the maximum amount. The city could charge a smaller amount, but also there is certainly legwork that has to be done, both at city offices. There's inspections involved with all of these things. There's reporting back to the state that we've actually fulfilled our responsibility as a local entity, and so given that as well, I guess the fees, even the maximal amount of fees, seem appropriate, but it's certainly well within the right of this council to charge less for those registration fees if you so choose. The last paragraph of my memo regarding alternatives or variations, I also suggested that, noting that really if the easiest way, theoretically, would be to charge all initial registrations at $250 and renewal fees at $125. That would cover all retailers. But again, you wouldn't be maximizing the amount of fees that would go back towards paying employees and everything else that has to do the work in order to register these companies. So it's not my recommendation that the council follows that, but you certainly could if you wanted to.
How many man-hours is it going to take for us to register these companies and or do the compliance?
So let me jump in. I don't know that we know that. I can also tell you that it is more than just the registration and any annual renewal paperwork that needs to be processed. Local units of government, including the city of St. Peter, are responsible for a number of the inspections as well. And so it's certainly something that we can analyze more as we get more into this. But just as a comparison, this is, liquor license fees are less than $2,000. They're around $1,600 if I remember appropriately. So the discussion with the council is that this was a reasonable place to start. Usually our goal with fees is to try and recoup our cost. Depending on how many you have and the amount of time, effort, energy that's necessary to do inspections and renewal inspections and check for age appropriateness and all those things, this probably is in the ballpark, I think, as best as we know so far.
And do we know how we're comparative to other cities nearby in the region?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably so new that.
Right. This is, I think you used an expression earlier today that we're flying the plane as we're building it here, and that's certainly the case with all of this stuff. But for instance, if the fees that we're charging are pegged on the cannabis micro businesses, which my understanding of the discussion among other city attorneys and other organizations is that it's believed that will be the overwhelming amount of licenses that we see. If you go one step up to those mezzo businesses, then the licensing fees go from, the initial fee goes from $0 to $5,000, and the renewal fees go all the way up to $10,000. So especially at that point, what the city is able to charge out of this is pales compared to what they're already getting socked by the state. Again, that doesn't necessarily justify it, but it sort of puts into perspective the different kinds of fees we're talking about here, this registration fee versus the licensure fee.
Daryl, do you have something to add?
Just the last session too, I believe that the state pulled back all the revenue sharing for any type of cannabis tax coming to us. We were looking at getting like 20%-ish.
15%, but
50%?
yes, but
It's
that
zero.
got completely pulled.
It's zero now, so unless I'm mistaken, this is really our only dollars we will get from this business within our community besides the normal property taxes and things like that. There's no revenue sharing from the tax at this time because the state took it all back to balance the budget, so.
Our,
The main reason I'm pushing on this is I just wanna make sure that those fees are not overly high on purpose to be restrictive. You know, I think I've been very clear and other council members have been that we want to encourage businesses to come to town. We don't wanna be like some of our neighbors that have made it virtually impossible for these businesses to enter the community.
if I could, Madam Mayor, I think I would not disagree. The council's been clear, based on my understanding what other communities are doing. You are far less restrictive in many, many, many other areas, including the number of licenses that would be available, including the land use requirements that are in place, buffer zones, time of sale you provide to follow the state statute, which allows for the maximum hours of sale, days of the week. And so I think this follows with that you have met the letter of the law and have been very unrestrictive compared to other folks.
And if I could just tag on that, also the overall statutory scheme in this area specifically prohibits local government from interfering in this business in any way whatsoever. I mean, that's very clear throughout the statute, but it does provide us the ability to collect these fees in this circumstance. So a statute that's designed to not allow local governments to interfere in cannabis business generally does allow us to provide for ourselves and the work we're doing in this area with these fees.
Any further discussion or questions?
If I can, the overarching goal of this coming before the council was to correct or update your fee schedule, and so that's why this comes before you tonight.
All right, hearing nothing additional, the resolution modifying the 2025 fee schedule is on page 42 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, Civil Service Commission ordinance modification.
Mayor members, that's me. The information is included and starts on page 43 within your packet. Mayor members, this is something that not only this council, but previous councils have talked about on numerous occasions throughout really probably the last decade or so. It's oftentimes people have a misconception related to what the Civil Service Commission does and why Civil Service Commissions were put into place. And without going into a significant amount of history, I would say it was put in place at a time before there were lots of rules, laws, and administrative procedures related to hiring and firing of civil servants, including police officers. Many of the functions that Civil Service Commissions provide in other communities are driven almost entirely by what we might consider today HR functions. So what's the criteria for hire? What does the application look like? What's the job description? Those are all things that are either handled administratively or, as an example, with a job description must be approved by the city council per your policies here in St. Peter. So these are not boards or commissions that get to tell the police department what color the squad cars are, or when they can work, or how many shifts, or how many officers, or any of those kind of things. Those things are not covered. Now, we often hear about communities that have boards, citizen advisory boards, or other boards that do those kind of things, but that is not what's provided for as a part of state statute for civil service commissions. In addition, I would say most of those communities that we hear about that have those types of things going on are home rule charter cities, and so they operate under a different set of statutes than you do in St. Peter. You happen to be a statutory A city. So the discussion has gone something like this over the last number of years. It's hard to get it filled. Do they really have a mission and purpose within St. Peter and how St. Peter is statutorily regulated and how we function related to the hire or termination or discipline of police officers, what processes, what scores, what testing is done. Those are all things that are either handled administratively, they are handled in some instances by the police chief, like deciding what color squad cars are, or they are handled by POST, which is the Police Officer Training Board that dictates the type of education that's necessary to receive a license to be a practicing police officer within the state of Minnesota. With all of that and with challenges related to getting people to serve on these things, we've struggled to make this work well. That brings forward the discussion over the last decade on numerous occasions related to whether we should continue to have a civil service commission. We provided information within your packet related to the state statute 419, that indicates how a city council can eliminate, or maybe disband a civil service commission. And so that's only done in two ways, one of which is a unanimous vote of the city council. You've talked about this, we provided a draft. The draft of the ordinance change really is an all elimination. So instead of having an ordinance that says there shall be a civil service commission and here's how appointments work, what it will say is this space is reserved for future use. And that does then eliminate the civil service commission. That draft was reviewed by the city council. It's been published according to the rules that you have in the state law, and it's an appropriate time to bring that forward to you. The ordinance within your packet is included just after the memo on page 45. It's a little bit further down after the state statutes. Give me just a second to get to the right page here. But it is included in your packet. And again, it doesn't say a whole lot, because really what we're doing is eliminating all the language that puts a civil service commission in place according to your ordinance. It's on page 53. So the recommendation from staff, after following the procedures, the number of discussions, review of the state statute and how this works, is to approve the attached ordinance, again, that's on page 53, which eliminates all the language related to the commission and establishes Division 11 under Article 5, reserved for future use.
Thanks. Terrell, and then Carrie.
I guess the legal question, unanimous vote of the city council, is that just the unanimous vote of if there's a quorum present?
I don't want to speak for your city attorney on that one, but I can tell you my experience is that when state statute in very specific instances, and some of you might understand or have experience with this related to land use, says very specifically what is a quorum or 2/3 or how that fits together. This statute does not. It's our belief as we move forward that it's a unanimous vote of the city council, and that includes you, those who are present. Otherwise, someone could never show up at a meeting and ensure that an ordinance of this type never passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I support doing this. We've had a lot of conversations and I know the whys. But if I am a resident of St. Peter and I see that, the duties of the commission included absolute control and supervision over employment, promotion, discharge, and suspension, what would you say if I was concerned about accountability or transparency, and what are the systems that exist to ensure that those things happen the way they need to be?
So under state statute, under statutory A city, the city council now fulfills those rules, and frankly would have fulfilled those rules in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a function and an organization that's directly elected by the citizenry to control those type of issues, and that includes all of you here that are at the table. You have a number of processes and laws that relate to how employment must occur, the level of licensing that occurs, and oftentimes, it's true that civil service commissions were established at a time before those types of procedures, rules, and laws were in place, and now they are in place.
Mm-hmm. So we had the Civil Service Commission, which oftentimes reviewed promotions and job descriptions and things like that. Are there any of those duties that are all of those duties that they did, is that shifted to the council, or is some of that going to administration?
Some of that does go to admin. So as an example, from an administrative perspective, including your HR staff, we're making determinations what the ad looks like, what the criteria is for hire, what the scoring is related to the experiential or educational background that candidates have. And we have a well-established process for that you use across all positions within your city, that functions cleanly, well, efficiently. And of course, we still have to meet the rules that are established by the state of Minnesota for police officers to be licensed.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing nothing further, the ordinance, the resolution appears on page 53. Is there a motion to approve an ordinance amending St. Peter City Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Division 11, Police Civil Service Commission?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenthal,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra,
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye. The resolution carries. Next up, tree ordinance amendment modification.
Mayor and members, this is an effort to clarify your ordinance. As members may recall, and even discussed on a couple of occasions, and it was brought to your attention by folks within the community, you have what I would call 2 tree lists. Those are lists of trees that are allowed to be planted within the city of St. Peter. You have a defined process for that within boards and commissions, and you have a thing called the tree board, which establishes that list. Then we had another list that was included in your city ordinance. At times, those were not congruent. Our goal in the modification of this ordinance is to not have to worry about them being congruent, but to use the ordinance and say, whatever the resolution says that's approved by the tree board and approved by the city council is the list. There's not a separate list enumerating all of the different trees within your ordinance. The reason we do that is to not have to worry so much about continuity. It keeps it up to date on a regular basis. The tree board meets on an annual basis, and so they update that based on recommendations from staff and other folks, including changes that have been made recently relative to, if you're a green thumb person, you'll understand zones of planting within the United States and how those have moved according to the Department of Agriculture. And so our goal is to have your ordinance point to that resolution that is approved generally every year, but from time to time by the city council when a modification occurs based on recommendation from the tree board. That's the goal of this ordinance change. I believe that's what it says and that's what it would do. It's been published according to your rules. You've talked about it a few times. I think it will be helpful not only to staff, but to council and to the public because it will eliminate potential for confusion, or at least reduce it.
Yeah, and the list appears on people can find it on our website.
They can find it on our website.
It's maybe a little more user-friendly than the website with all the ordinance, although
Yep.
we all love looking at that. Maybe
Yep.
your average resident isn't as keen on ordinances as we are.
So there are no other changes, Madam Mayor and members. I know the ordinance that we have provided for you in your packet, but it reiterates the setbacks and those types of things. That is not a change that's occurred. This is only pointing to that resolution, again, that's approved by the tree board and the city council, enumerating the type of trees or species of trees.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, the ordinance appears on page 56 of the packet, amending St. Peter City Code, Chapter 54, Vegetation, Article 5, Tree Maintenance. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenthal,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The ordinance is approved. Our last item of new business is the new City Hall solicitation of bids.
Mayor and members, included in your packet starting on page 58 is a lot of information related to the Scholarship America building, which we're now calling the new City Hall. At some point it will just be called City Hall, but for now it's the new City Hall. You have a committee that's been assigned that's done a lot of work. You've hired a contractor or a design professional team through ISG Architects Engineers. You've also hired a construction management firm to help guide you through this process and help develop this information so that you can go out for bids on what is some new construction, but mostly remodeling of the Scholarship America building. You've talked about this or the issues surrounding this building on many, many occasions, and I think you're at the point today where if you approve specifications and allow for solicitation of bids, that process can move forward. We would anticipate that if the council approves it tonight, that bid opening would likely be July 31st or more likely August 6th, and then would be reviewed on August 11th by the city council. We've talked in workshop about the process for this. You talked about bathroom tile, you've talked about colors, you've talked about windows, you've talked about doors, you've talked about door handles, you've talked about all kinds of different things at the committee level and some at the council level. And so again, it's my perspective that you are at the point to be able to approve this and make this project go forward. I'm happy to answer questions related to process. I will tell you that in the olden days, we would measure specification books by the number of pages. Now we measure them by kilobytes, and it's a lot of kilobytes that make up the 2 manuals that are the specifications for this. The council's been very clear to staff that you want to have a friendly opportunity for local smaller contractors to be able to participate. So to that end, we have hard copies that can be available, and folks don't have to submit their bids electronically. They could submit them in paper if they wanted to as well as a part of that bid opening process. Again, happy to answer any questions as best as I can. The information is included in your packet along with some information related to budget as we've talked about, and this is on page 60. So if people are following along, they can review and see this budget as a part of the packet. If they go online, you'll be able to see the property acquisition cost, what we anticipate for special testing, for demolition, for construction, for paying your engineers and architects, for paying your construction manager, for furniture, for signage. All of those things are taken into account as a part of this overall budget. And we are in the ballpark of where you anticipated from the December meeting when you took action to purchase the Scholarship America property. It also includes some imagery related to a floor plan, as you see here, that's color-coded. Light blue is transit, dark blue is police department, including garages. Yellow, green, orange, and a really beautiful kind of mauve color represents the other city departments, whether it's finance is green, of course, community development is orange, and for some reason administration is a nice mauve color. So you've had the chance to review that with your architectural and engineering team. There's some imagery about additions to the building. What you see in the lighter color there is the building as it exists, and the blue here is the garages and how that will look and how that architecturally works with the design of the current building. Again, part of the council's goal has been to reduce the amount of removing walls, changing things, use what we can, recycle where we can. And so you see that reflected in a lot of the plans and specifications here. You'll see some inside views of some of the office areas as a part of this. You'll see public counter spaces. You'll see an entryway. This would be a hallway that goes towards restroom facilities and the public share of the building. Here's an image or two related to what the council chambers, and I think it's important to note, the school board has indicated they still want to cohabitate with you and use your chambers as their board chambers as well. So here's some additional computer-generated imagery surrounding how that will look. Some areas entering the building and exiting the building. This happens to be an area that shows the walk-up area in the police department, which will be on the north side of the building. And so there's a transaction window there. Again, if people want to see more, there's some more included in the packet. But my hope is to have you be in a position where you can approve the resolution that's attached, which allows for approval of the specification and instructing your staff and construction managers to start the bid solicitation process.
Thank you. Any questions for Todd or discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we've talked, for folks at home, we've talked about this a lot. There's a committee that both Daryl and I represent the council on, and so this is not the first time any of us are seeing this.
It is not.
Anywho, the resolution approving specifications and directing solicitation of bids is on page 66. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpström,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We're going to move on to reports, and the only report item I have tonight is a recognition of Susan Bruns for 36 years of service to the city.
Susan is near retirement here with the city, and she, we have a process for employees can come and visit with you at their time of retirement or not. We don't make them, but Susan was gracious enough to come and help us with public access and recording the meeting today. So it seemed really appropriate that we recognize her and all her years of service in a lot of different, very important roles for us. So We are sad to see her go, excited for her next adventure, and I don't know, I think we should give her at least a round of
we
applause for
should.
sure. Susan was very clear she did not want to be on camera this evening, but we want to recognize her all the same, so thanks, Susan. We really appreciate that. Thank you for it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, top that, everybody else. City council members, do any of you have reports?
Not for that.
How about our city administrator?
I do have a few things that I want to mention just quickly. We want to reach out and say thank you to Dairy Queen. Certainly, we have a lot of folks that help make some of our programs go, whether it's with the police department or rec staff or public works or finance. We have a lot of folks that participate. But I have the sneaking suspicion that Dairy Queen was hopping the other night when it was coned with a cop. And so if you bump into Tim, who's the owner of Dairy Queen, thank him. Who can go wrong with a free ice cream cone from Dairy Queen? And it's a wonderful event and happens on an annual basis. So he's been very gracious with those resources over a number of years. I also want to mention Gorman Park, and the construction here has started. I don't know, Pete, could you say a few words? Would you mind saying a few words about what's going on at Gorman Park? Folks should note, if you drive by as of today, the orange and tan playground is gone, and really the start of some of the work to prepare for the new tremendous jungle gym apparatus is going on.
Correct. We're, as you guys can tell, we're doing this in 2 phases. So we're trying to leave the tremendous playground up while construction happens on phase 1. Nielsen Concrete and Asphalt is the general contractor for this project. And as you can see, we demolished the old tan and orange playground, and we're in the process of mobilizing the contractor in, and he will be starting removals shortly. And so we anticipate this project will continue into September and October. We do have the equipment is at the distributors, and so they are ready to go. It's just a matter of getting the site work done. You can see some of the protective fencing that is up there, so please pay attention to the fences so you don't get inside the construction zone. And remind you that coming off Fifth Street, you'll still have access to Tremendous.
Thank you, Pete, very much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a big project, important for Pete's team and the whole community and the rec department. And speaking of the rec department, Gorman Park, this might be just a smidge late, but Wednesday is Party in the Park coming up. And so we have a number of different departments that will be participating along with other groups from the community. We've done this on an annual basis for a number of years, and it's just a great opportunity to be out and about and see some of the things that are going great within your community and play around. There'll be games and food and all those kind of things. So we really want to encourage people to be there. We do want you to pay attention. If we can make it happen, 5th Street will be closed from Grace to Mulberry as well. So watch for that. On Washington, you'll have to park. Certainly a little bit further south on 5th Street or in the community center parking lot. There'll be a lot of space that's available for folks.
What time, Todd?
Oh, forgive me, I don't remember what time. Maybe
Is it
you
in the
know, Carrie.
evening or
It's
is
a early to mid-evening event. So I think it's 5 o'clock. Chief, maybe you remember. Do you remember?
Is this for the event on Wednesday?
Yeah.
As far as I know, it was a morning event. But
Morning event?
I've been told what to do and be.
Well, I have great confidence that by tomorrow at noontime, there'll be more information on our Facebook page to get that figured out. I'm sorry, I don't remember the time. I should have looked
I've
that
got
up.
it.
You're zooming in on there?
It's 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Oh, 9 a.m. Ah.
That's what we've been doing the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Well, that's a
Sorry
great
about that.
Opportunity to plug Facebook, City of St. Peter Facebook, St. Peter Police Department Facebook. You're gonna find a lot of great information about what's happening in our community. You might find some fun stuff on the St. Peter Police Department
It was
Facebook
fun.
too, so,
Yeah, Mayor, it was fun.
yeah.
All right, Madam Mayor, the last one that I have is that, as I'm sure all of you know, we went past the 4th of July, so arguably what most people would call the midpoint of summer. But it is a high point of summer in St. Peter with the 4th of July event and celebration. And I did want to thank certainly all the crews, the police department, Pete's crews and teams that keep things clean and make the park look great, and the Chamber of Commerce and all the volunteers that really do wonderful things to put on that event. Weather was warm but beautiful in the morning. Great day to be out there at a parade. And the Chamber was happy with the turnout, not only for the parade, but all the folks that participated in all the great things that were going on in Minnesota Square Park. So thanks to the Chamber, and again, especially all those volunteers. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right. Well, seems like a great time for a meeting to be adjourned. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.